Picture this. It's 9 in the evening. Dinner was about an hour and a half ago. Nothing heavy, a little protein, some steamed vegetables, maybe a small portion of rice. Nothing fried, nothing rich. But your stomach is tight and pressing from the inside. Something's gurgling around your navel. You try to settle onto the couch and you feel it immediately. That dull, stubborn pressure. You roll onto your side and it doesn't go anywhere. It's not pain exactly. It's something worse. A draining, insistent fullness that'll sit with you for another 3 hours, ruin the evening, and slowly steal part of the night. 40 million Americans know this feeling well. For them, bloating after dinner isn't an accident or a cause for worry. It's just how the day ends. Now a completely different picture. Shaolin Monastery, Henan Province. The monks have just finished the evening meal. Simple food, steamed rice, dark leafy greens, a small portion of legumes, sometimes tofu. No supplements, no probiotic capsules with 7 billion bacteria, no digestive enzymes. Within a few minutes, every one of them will do the same thing, something the monastery has passed down after every meal for generations. It takes less than a minute, and none of them know what it's like to lie awake with evening bloating. According to the American College of Gastroenterology, more than 70 million Americans suffer from digestive disorders serious enough to seek medical care regularly. 70 million. That's more than the entire population of France. The global market for bloating remedies, probiotics, and digestive supplements is valued at $48 billion a year. And every year it grows a few percent, because the problem doesn't go away. People buy, take, wait, buy again. Shaolin Monastery doesn't have a pharmacy shelf. There isn't a single bottle of probiotics. Monks in their 70s complete hours of daily training without complaints about a heavy stomach or evening discomfort. They aren't genetically special people. They don't live in some uniquely beneficial climate. They simply do something after every meal that they've passed on to students since the first day in the monastery. In the next 20 minutes, you're going to learn exactly what that is, how it works at the level of the nervous system and the muscular layer of the intestine, and how to build the same practice into your evenings starting tonight. No pills, no purchases, no dietary overhaul. And at the end, I'll tell you one thing about the correct timing of this practice that almost every guide on Qigong and Chinese digestive practices leaves out, including most people who already know the exercise itself. That one detail is what determines whether the practice actually works or just goes through the motions. Stay for that. But first we need to talk about what most people are doing about their bloating, because the digestive supplement industry has built an entire architecture of belief around this problem. And that architecture is pointing you in the wrong direction. The logic they sell you goes like this. The problem is that you don't have enough good bacteria in your gut. Take the right probiotic with the right strains, your microbiome will balance out, digestion will improve, bloating will go away. That sounds reasonable because it's built on a real fact. The microbiome genuinely affects digestion. But the next step in that logic, that a capsule can fix the problem, that step is wrong. In 2018, researchers at the Weizmann Institute of Science in Israel conducted one of the most detailed studies ever done on what actually happens to bacteria from probiotic supplements once they enter the human gut. The results were published in the journal Cell. In the majority of participants, the bacteria from the capsules didn't colonize. They passed through the gut in transit and came out the other side. In some participants, probiotics taken after antibiotics actually slowed the recovery of the body's own native gut flora, because the supplemental bacteria were occupying space and getting in the way of the local bacteria returning to their positions. The researchers wrote in their conclusions, the response to probiotics varies deeply between individuals, and routine supplementation doesn't produce predictable results. This isn't an argument against a healthy microbiome. It's an argument against the idea that the digestive problem you feel every evening gets solved by a supplement. Shaolin monks didn't know a word about the microbiome, but they knew something else, something that modern neurogastroenterology is only now beginning to put into its own scientific language. They knew that digestion isn't just chemistry. It's a process governed by the nervous system, and that the nervous system responds to simple, clear physical signals. The practice is called abdominal dantian massage. In Chinese, Dantian literally means the field of cinnabar. It's a point roughly 3 to 4 centimeters below the navel, which traditional Chinese medicine considers the center of the body's physical energy and the seat of vital force. After each meal, a monk either stands upright or sits with a straight back. He places both palms on his abdomen, one on top of the other, so that the center of the lower palm sits directly over the navel. He begins slow circular movements clockwise, 36 circles. Then 36 circles counterclockwise. The pressure is gentle, not a deep kneading of muscle, but a light gliding movement of the palms following the surface of the belly. That's it. The whole thing takes 45 seconds to a minute. It looks too simple to be the answer to a problem that a $48 billion industry can't solve. That's exactly why Western researchers didn't take it seriously for a long time. You can't package it. You can't patent it. It's just hands and a stomach. But here's what happens at the level of physiology. Your gut is structured differently than most people imagine. It has its own nervous system, around 100 million neurons embedded right in the walls of the intestinal tract. Physiologists call this the second brain, and that's not a metaphor. This system is capable of working completely on its own, without commands from the head. It controls the contractions of the gut, the rate at which food moves through, the production of digestive enzymes. But here's the problem. This second brain is extremely sensitive to one thing. It constantly receives signals about whether it's safe to work at full capacity right now. When you open a laptop after dinner, scroll through a news feed, think about unfinished tasks, or just sit still in a tense posture, the gut's internal nervous system receives a standby signal. The movement of food slows down. The gases that form during normal fermentation and digestion don't clear out in time. They build up, press against the walls. You feel it as bloating. Circular abdominal massage works as a precise physical signal that reaches directly to the nerve endings in the wall of the abdominal cavity. Those nerve endings communicate with the vagus nerve, the main cable of the body's internal braking system. When you place warm palms on your belly and begin gentle movements, you're literally pressing the internal brake on anxiety. The gut receives an unambiguous signal. Everything's calm. Start working. In 2011, the National Institutes of Health published a systematic review of research on abdominal massage for functional bowel disorders. The authors analyzed 6 clinical trials. In all 6, the outcome was consistent. Patients with chronic bloating and slow gut motility who practiced regular, gentle abdominal massage reported significant reduction in symptoms, generally by the 4th to 6th week of practice. Not supplements, not dietary protocols, just daily physical contact of hands with the belly. The authors of the review explain the mechanism this way. The gut knows how to move on its own. It only needs one signal, that conditions for work have been created. The Shaolin monastic texts framed this differently, in images rather than neurogastroenterology. They said, warm the center, don't force digestion, don't add something from outside. Simply create the internal conditions under which the body does everything itself. Here's what the first tier looks like in practice. Wait 5 to 10 minutes after finishing dinner. That small pause matters critically, and I'll explain why at the end. Stand up or sit with a straight back, not in a reclined chair where the belly gets compressed into a fold. Step 1. Place your right palm on your abdomen so that the navel is at the center of your palm. Place your left palm on top of the right. For a few seconds, just feel the warmth of your own hands pressed against your belly. Step 2. Begin slow circular movements clockwise, as seen looking down at your own stomach. The diameter of the circle is roughly 20 centimeters edge to edge. The pressure is gentle, the way you'd calm a small child. Not rubbing, not kneading, just a smooth gliding motion. 36 circles. That takes about 25 seconds. Step 3. Without lifting your hands, reverse direction, now counterclockwise. Another 36 circles, another 25 seconds. Done. Less than a minute. You can do this standing at the sink while you wash up. You can do it at the table while a conversation winds down. The only requirement? The belly is relaxed, the breathing is calm. Right now, not tomorrow, right now you can stand up and try it once just to learn the movement. That's the only tool you need for the first tier. Now the second layer, and this is where most explanations stop before they get to what doubles the effect. Shaolin monks don't do this massage at whatever breathing rhythm happens to be going on. Alongside the hand movements, they breathe in a specific way. A slow inhale, followed by an exhale roughly twice as long. Inhale for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 8. In the classical monastic texts, this is called huo qi, the breath of fire. Nothing forced, nothing resembling hyperventilation. Just slow belly breathing with a lengthened exhale. While you inhale, the diaphragm drops down and gently presses against the abdominal organs from the inside. While you exhale slowly and fully, the diaphragm rises and the intestine receives a gentle release of pressure. That movement happens from the inside, while the hands are moving from the outside. Two simultaneous gentle influences from two directions, external and internal. What happens to the nervous system during a slow exhale has interested physiologists for decades. When the exhale is longer than the inhale, the heart begins to beat slightly slower during the exhale phase. That's not a coincidence. It's the direct influence of breathing rhythm on the specific branch of the nervous system that governs the gut during rest. Blood vessels in the intestine expand. Blood flow to the digestive organs increases. The gut receives another signal. Digest. It's safe now. Resources are being directed to you. In 2017, Stanford University researchers published a paper in Science describing a specific neural circuit connecting breathing rhythm to the state of the brain and nervous system. They identified one of its key neurons as a breathing switch. That neuron literally changes the operating mode of the brain and peripheral nervous system depending on how you breathe. A slow exhale activates a rest state. A short, incomplete exhale, the kind that happens under stress or in front of a screen, keeps the nervous system in a state of mild readiness. Mild enough not to feel like anxiety, but active enough to put the brakes on the gut. Shaolin monastic teachers put it without knowing the neural anatomy. They said, control the breath and you control the inner fire. The fire doesn't need to be forced. It needs to be fed with rhythm. Take a moment right now and think about the last time you stood still after dinner, not looking at your phone, not running through unfinished business in your head, just breathing slowly and deliberately, even for 1 minute. Adding the second layer is simple. When you begin the circular hand movements, start breathing in the 4-8 rhythm at the same time. Inhale for 4 counts. The belly gently comes forward. Exhale for 8 counts. The belly gently draws back. The hands continue their circles throughout. There's no rigid synchronization. Breathing and movement run in parallel, independently, just both happening at the same time, slowly, without hurry. If the lengthened exhale feels uncomfortable at first, start with a 2-4 ratio. Inhale for 2 counts, exhale for 4. The 1-to-2 proportion matters more than the absolute duration. The body adapts to the slower rhythm within a few days. You can do everything right. Circles clockwise, slow breathing, a full minute of attention. And the practice might still give you weak or inconsistent results if you're missing one condition that's almost never mentioned in descriptions of this practice. Not in most guides on Qigong. Not in popular explanations of abdominal massage. Not in translations of the classical monastic texts, which Western translators often shorten because certain details seem inessential to them. The condition is about the exact moment you begin. At Shaolin Monastery, a meal doesn't end with an immediate transition to massage. After eating, the monks get up from the table and walk for a while, slowly, without apparent destination, around the monastery courtyard, along a covered gallery, down a long corridor. This walk is called Jingxing, walking meditation after a meal. It lasts between 5 and 15 minutes. Only after that comes the practice with the hands and the breath. Western observers who saw this often took the walk for a simple stroll, routine movement between a meal and the next activity. That's a mistake. Jingxing is the first and essential phase of the practice. Without it, the second phase works noticeably less well. Here's why. Immediately after eating, the digestive system receives a significant influx of blood. The stomach, having just received food, is under maximum load. Blood is actively redistributing toward the digestive organs. If at that moment you begin pressing on a full belly, you're creating mechanical pressure at exactly the point when the system isn't yet ready to respond to external signals. It's not harmful, but it's not what's needed. A slow walk after eating does several things at once. The rhythmic contractions of the leg muscles during walking create a gentle pumping action, helping blood redistribute away from the overloaded stomach toward the periphery. The swaying of the torso with each step transmits a light mechanical vibration to the abdominal organs, and that's the primary physical signal for the gut to begin peristalsis. The monotonous rhythm of steps, when they're slow and deliberate, already begins calming the nervous system before you've even placed your hands on your belly. In 2022, the journal Sports Medicine published a meta-analysis in which researchers systematically reviewed 12 independent clinical trials. All 12 studied one thing: the effect of walking after meals on blood sugar levels, gastric emptying rate, and bloating symptoms. The result was unambiguous. 5 to 10 minutes of slow walking immediately after eating reduced the peak blood sugar spike by an average of 17% compared to sitting still. The rate of gastric motility onset increased. Bloating symptoms in the walking group were reported significantly less often. The authors called this the mechanical stimulation effect. Rhythmic body movement after eating works as a physical start signal for the digestive tract. The monastic text describing Jingxing used different language. It said, "Let the food settle before you direct the inner fire. Let the body hear the food before you speak to it with your hands." Precise physiology, in images a student could understand 1,000 years ago. So the correct sequence of the full practice is this. You finish eating and get up from the table. For 5 to 10 minutes, you walk slowly, around the kitchen, down the hallway, outside the front door, anywhere. Not fast, not with anywhere to be, just slow, deliberate steps. Then you stop, stand straight, place your hands on your belly, and do 36 slow circles clockwise with the 4-8 breathing. Then 36 circles counterclockwise. Done. The entire sequence takes 7 to 12 minutes, walk included. Now, here's what happens if you do this every evening. The first 7 days. Most people notice the first change not during the practice itself, but in the 20 to 30 minutes after it. The belly that was tight after dinner becomes noticeably softer. Not because something magically dissolved, but because the gut received the right signals and started moving properly. The gases that had built up through the evening cleared without pressure or discomfort. If the bloating has been chronic and nightly, by the end of the first week it'll start to ease. Not disappear completely, but stop being so hard and uncomfortable. The first 30 days. The nervous system learns the ritual. The body starts to respond to it as a signal for relaxation the moment you stand up from the dinner table, before the hands even reach the belly. The setting itself begins to associate with a specific physical state. This is called a conditioned reflex, and it's actually good news. The body starts preparing the digestive system for normal function before you even begin. People whose chronic nighttime bloating was disrupting sleep generally start sleeping better by the end of the first month. Not because the diet changed. The obstruction that was stealing part of the night is simply gone. 90 days. This is the horizon where slowly accumulated changes become measurable. The morning heaviness that many people wrote off as just how I'm built disappears or becomes rare. Markers of hidden gut inflammation come down, and that's not speculation. It's what research on regular abdominal massage documents. Morning energy levels shift because a gut that was working properly through the night didn't use sleep as time to catch up on a backlog. Notice this. None of these results require any change to what you eat. The practice works on top of whatever you're already eating. That doesn't mean the composition of food doesn't matter. It means your body has mechanisms for processing food that are already there. They're just not getting the right signals to work properly. Let's bring it together. Tier 1. Circular abdominal massage. 36 circles clockwise, 36 counterclockwise. Gentle pressure, palms one on top of the other, center over the navel. This is the physical signal that shifts the gut from standby into normal operation. Less than a minute. Tier 2. Slow breathing with a lengthened exhale, running parallel to the hand movements. Inhale 4 counts, exhale 8. The diaphragm moves the abdominal organs from the inside, complementing the hands working from the outside. The breathing rhythm presses the internal brake on anxiety and gives the gut permission to digest. Tier 3. Correct timing. First, 5 to 10 minutes of slow walking. Only then hands and breath. This is what most descriptions of the practice leave out, and it's exactly what determines the difference between a practice that works consistently and one that works every other time. The digestive supplement industry earns $48 billion a year on the idea that your gut is broken and needs repair from the outside. Shaolin monks have worked for centuries with a different idea. The gut knows what to do. What it needs is for the obstacle to be removed. The obstacle is an incomplete switch of the nervous system from active mode into rest. One correctly constructed minute removes it. Not a supplement, not a capsule, not a protocol. Movement, breath, and the right moment. One concrete action for tomorrow evening. After dinner, get up from the table and walk slowly for 5 minutes. Just around the kitchen, down the hallway, around the apartment. Not fast, not going anywhere. Then stand straight, place your palms on your belly, and do 36 slow circles clockwise. Breathe while you do it. Inhale slower than usual. Exhale slower still. That's it. One walk, 1 minute, one evening. If you want more practices from the monastic traditions of Shaolin and the mountain monasteries of China that help the body work well after 50, subscribe to Longevity Path. Drop in the comments whether you've already tried any breathing practices or post-meal exercises and what you noticed. I read every single comment.